Hello, fellow students of Hope to the Future. I'm Kim Min-seo from Team 5, a 7th grader at Daewon International Middle School.
Hi, my name is Honey Kim. I'm a 12th grade from 명덕 Foreign Language School.
Hello, my name is Jisoo Park and I am 8th grader from NLCS Jeju.
Hi everyone, my name is Sue. I'm a 12th grader from Linden Hall.
Hi, my name is Suran Chin and I'm a 12th grader at Daewon Foreign Language High School.
Hi, my name is Songjun. I'm a 10th grade from Shema Christian School.
Hi everyone. Our group is going to talk about one of the most pressing SDG goals, Goal 13, climate action. Although the vast majority of the world now recognizes that climate change is a grave and pressing issue, many developing nations believe that they should not sacrifice their economic growth on behalf of climate change policies. While countries like Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands have the ability to transition to sustainable development. But what about developing nations without this luxury? We attempt to answer this question by researching green growth, especially the work and mission of Global Green Growth Institute. Our guiding questions to keep in mind are green economies feasible? And how can nations embark on a path of green growth? The table of content is like so. What is green growth? What is GGGI? How have they helped developing nations? In what ways can we prevent entities and NGOs to contribute to green growth? How have developing nations achieved green growth? What can we learn from green growth? We have incorporated the information we've gotten from the lectures this week throughout our presentation.
What is green growth? We define green growth as a mechanism to achieve sustainable development. It drives green policies and innovation to fund the growth of economies. There are 3 levels of green growth. Firstly, on the lowest level, weak green growth is a do-no-harm approach where growth does not proactively harm the environment. Moderate green growth sees greater interconnectedness between economic growth and sustainability through things like investment of green jobs and infrastructure. Strong green growth is a transformative and drastic process where the whole economy undertakes massive changes in the long term. The term green economy was first coined by David Pearce in his book, Blueprint for a Green Economy. In contrast with the common pattern of economic development has been a rapid industrialization through the consumption of fossil fuel, commonly known as the brown economic strategy. Green economies aim to have, first, low carbon industries, second, green jobs, third, poverty reduction, equitable distribution, last, protection of biodiversity and ecosystem. Green economy policies are often very specialized, recognizing the specific needs of local communities and the necessity to achieve employment and investment in a manner that combats climate change. It also encompasses concepts like environmental justice, which recognizes the poorest people in the world suffer disproportionate impacts of climate change. Like the SDGs we've been studying whole week, a functioning green economy requires a multifaceted approach. Instead of exclusively targeting each other separately, green economies try to use solutions that can help solve more than just one problem.
We've heard from 2 speakers from GGGI, including a founding member. The Global Green Growth Institute was founded in June 2010 in South Korea. It is a non-profit, intergovernmental organization dedicated to helping the world transition toward a model of green growth. They analyze the needs of local communities and create strategies that will simultaneously help combat the social ills of the region, as well as transition to a more environmentally friendly growth. GGGI has grown from an initial membership of 18 countries to now more than 39 members from all over the world, with operations in 33 countries. It has a unique role in shaping countries' growth as a trusted advisor and partner. Vietnam is a great example of a country that has received help from GGGI. As a country that signed the Paris Agreement, Vietnam was set with a target of an 8% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Despite its efforts, including the Green Growth Action Plan outlined by the government, Vietnam needed additional help from external sources for this transition. Thankfully, GGGI stepped in to find funds, identify target cities, and helped Vietnam establish a partnership with Luxembourg, which has considerable expertise in green finance. As the speaker mentioned, GGGI uniquely provides neutral and agile guidance to overcome the existing challenges of many developing nations. The synergy of these partnerships helps meet Paris Agreement commitments and also has led to the creation of green jobs within Vietnam. Some upcoming projects include projects with Myanmar. In the case of Myanmar, the COVID-19 pandemic has created a crisis in its rural and urban areas, hampering progress in the new planting season and its construction projects. There are many obstacles in allowing for green growth in Myanmar. Only around 50% of the population has access to electricity, and the majority of those without access are from rural areas. Without electricity, rural households have no choice but to resort to traditional black fuel to power their lives. Also, Myanmar's forests have suffered from logging. Its forest cover shrank from 58% in 1990 to currently only 24%. GGGI is collaborating with the government of Myanmar to help create sustainable infrastructure such as renewable energy sites, develop sustainable value chains, and support plans for rural electrification and help reforest land. In October 2019, GGGI unveiled their very own Strategy 2030, which set the course for GGGI's upcoming projects. As former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon describes it, Strategy 2030 is a new course to respond to changing circumstances and to better meet the unique needs and growing ambitions of its member countries. Recently, GGGI has also introduced support for green COVID-19 recovery packages included in meeting Strategy 2030. It has created proposals to deal with the spike in food insecurity and poverty in countries with economic downturns through methods such as transitioning newly unemployed groups, particularly women and youth, to green jobs. Once the health emergency is resolved, countries will rush to catch up on the stagnated development. GGGI attempts to use this moment to accelerate their plans.
Then what does green growth and sustainable development actually look like in the real world? We answer through case studies of both private and public effort. And firstly, the World Green Economy Organization is another organization helping put the transition to green economies at the forefront of world issues. With headquarters in Dubai, UAE, they seek to help promote discussions and raise awareness about the green economy by establishing public and private sector partnership and funding innovation programs. The Green Growth Knowledge Platform is a network of international organizations and experts who are able to share their ideas in achieving green growth. This is particularly vital since many developed nations have information gaps in trying to achieve their target. GGKP also hosts the Green Forum, which is an online interactive space for professionals to gather to discuss sustainable development. Private corporations have also shown critical insights on the transition towards a green economy. The London-based coal taxi company, the Edison Lee Group, has adopted multiple different changes to help reduce CO2 emissions and combat the brutal effects of air pollution. So far, they've been able to reduce emissions by 1.2 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. Edison Lee Group's Burn Stop Clean Cooking project helps provide a more sustainable solutions to energy in Kenyan households. Rather than dangerous and inefficient open fires, many in Kenya had used for years, Edison Lee Group helped households transition to more efficient cook stoves. And this not only helped decrease greenhouse gas emissions, but decrease overall fuel expenditures and improve quality of life. Furthermore, these appliances are manufactured in Kenya, where they are used and helped create jobs. Burn employs over 400 people, 60% of whom are women. This project demonstrates how private corporations can directly invest in change to help deal with climate change while simultaneously providing jobs and promoting gender equality. Otugi, a prominent Korean food manufacturing company, has also contributed to developing diverse steps to transition their company into more eco-friendly operations. Otugi developed the concept eco-cook to pursue cooking methods which emit as little carbon as possible. Low-carbon recipes have been applied to many items, including Otugi's signature 3-minute cooking. Their eco-factories attempt to reduce emissions in their production process. For example, Otugi's Anyang plant achieved a 4.5% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions compared to last year by reducing energy waste. Ripple is a US-based technology company and aims to achieve a carbon net zero by 2030. They have invested in innovative carbon removal technology and also uses clean, renewable energy for their offices, while staying conscious of their own carbon footprint. Ripple plays a crucial role in shaping the future for green finance.
Something that really stuck with me when we heard from GGGI speakers was Mr. Chano Park, a founding member of GGGI, said that if one country has a successful case with their green growth, other countries can replicate through South-South cooperation, which Group 4 already mentioned, and therefore the support and analysis of green growth in one country has greater value because we can magnify their success to other countries as well. So let's evaluate a successful case that many cite, especially the GGGI often cites. Ethiopia is one of the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world and has one of the largest populations in Africa. Around 80% of its population live in rural areas and rely on agriculture, meaning that the country is particularly vulnerable to things like natural disasters, with lean seasons often resulting in widespread famine. Overpopulation has led to overstretched social services, unemployment, food insecurity, and when the government of Ethiopia recognized these obstacles in their growth, they were able to use this moment of crisis into an opportunity to carry out a transformative process of economic growth. Since 2011, the country began its Growth and Transformation Plan, also known as the GTP, which focused on uplifting the agricultural and manufacturing sectors. The GGGI has also been working closely with Ethiopia since 2010. The most significant strategy was Ethiopia's Climate Resilient and Green Economy Strategy, also known as CRGE, which aims to transition the country to carbon neutral and middle income by the year 2025, 5 years earlier than Strategy 2030. The 4 main pillars of this strategy are: 1, increase food security by improving cropland livestock. 2, protecting ecosystems and combating deforestation. 3, transitioning to renewable energy. And lastly, transitioning to more efficient technology and infrastructure in various industries, so things like transportation, in communications. So with these massive restructuring programs, Ethiopia was able to maintain consistent economic growth with a real GDP average growth rate of 10.8% per year, and with the government successfully reducing inflation rates and budget deficits. Investments in infrastructure and development has also led to new green jobs, and urban unemployment has declined by 18%. There are still many steps needed to be taken, especially with the existing disparity between urban and rural electricity access. Green growth policies can temporarily hurt the vulnerable, since things like initial energy price rises due to new renewable energy sources can negatively affect the poor. Therefore, governments must make policy solutions to mitigate these temporary shortcomings. However, despite these shortcomings, in the long term, we can call Ethiopia's transition a massive success because it not only had growth in productivity, but it reduced poverty and transitioned the overall society into environmentally friendly lifestyles. Poverty has declined at an average rate of 1.94% since 1995. Ethiopia has transitioned to renewable energy with, in 2012, over 98% of Ethiopia's electricity was from hydropower. That's incredible considering it was once a very poor African nation. So the example of Ethiopia provides a convincing case study of an African nation being able to achieve successful results despite obstacles and despite crises.
So here are the conclusions and observations we can draw regarding green growth after a week of research. First, there is no single solution for the green growth model. All our speakers, not just from GGGI, but from places like UNDP, WFP, and UNICEF, emphasized how essential it was to work with local communities to assess their specific needs and tailor policies to be the most effective. Analyzing the trends and case studies in past government programs will definitely help us understand what steps we can apply in other countries.
Information collection and policy analysis are fundamental to a functioning green growth. It is impossible to recognize in which areas of society we can make more productive and more green without conducting extensive research on the country's environmental capacity, productivity, and industries. Organizations like GGGI are at the forefront of conducting this research and help developing nations without the technological capacity to create the best policies.
Third, green growth requires a top-down approach in which governments and private sectors actively collaborate in order to create a mutually beneficial relationship between the economy and environment. Gulshan Vashistha, operating in GGGI headquarters in Seoul, emphasized that the climate change agenda needs trillions of investments, including private donations. Policies to tackle climate change cannot happen without the private sector. The GGGI is a neutral entity that works to bridge the gap between the private and public sector.
The fourth conclusion we can draw is that we need a willingness to experiment. Experiments with just one province, one single district, shows proof and shows feasibility. They prove to the public that climate change policies can help more than just the environment. We need to stop being so afraid to try innovative climate policies. We need to start small, magnify successes, and evaluate the shortcomings of these experiments.
Our group centered our presentation on SDG Goal 13, climate action. It is hard to dispute the drastic impacts of climate change on every continent and country in the world. Last year, Australian bushfire burned 3,000 homes after spreading around the size of South Korea. We've been unprecedented rainfall and floods in Belgium, China, Germany in the past two weeks. The Maldives, Marshall Islands, and Miami are going underwater. As of this moment, 7 out of 10 million internally displaced people were triggered by weather and climate hazards. We, as the largest group of youth ever to exist in society, have a crucial responsibility in staying alive and playing a big role in this green growth. As the Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, 2021 is a make or break year to confront the global climate emergency. Of course, individual sacrifices and changes are important, but in order to meet the pace of climate change and ensure our Earth does not fall into complete disrepair, green growth is the most holistic and nuanced approach to deal with climate change. So our fifth and final conclusion is we need a shift in perception. Combating climate change is no longer just about not using plastic bags. It is no longer an issue we can simply push to the back of the row simply because of poverty and unemployment. Solving these problems and combating climate change are not mutually exclusive. Communicating that to the public, who are often more antagonistic regarding drastic climate change policies, is critical to shifting the perception that climate change is going to hinder developing nations' growth, hurt the poorest communities, and distract from more pressing issues. People say you can't have the cake and eat it too, meaning you can't solve both climate change while achieving economic growth. But yes, we can. We can grow cleaner without growing slower. Thank you everyone for listening to our presentation and for Hope to the Future Association for giving this wonderful opportunity to learn about green growth.
Thank you very much. So any questions? We have 3 questions. We'll go from Seokhyun.
Thank you guys so much for the presentation. I really liked how you organized it and placed the information that you got from the lecture. But let me just stress one concern. As you guys mentioned that it's really hard to implement climate change measures in all countries. You guys said it's impossible in the view of the GGGI, UNDP, and WFP, whatever organizations that you say. But we need to do action. We need to implement action. Although it may be impossible in our human perspective, we are morally obligated to help those in need because it's human-made, it's man-made. So we really need to encounter what we made and bring back the causes and the consequences and really establish a great foundation instead of giving up at a point because it's impossible. It's not impossible, everything is achievable. So I just want to ask you, why do you think the GGGI and the UNDP stands at that point where they think it's really hard to get there, while they should have a better understanding and a better perception to implement and conquer these problems?
So I'll answer that. Again, always thank you. We love your insights, Seokhyun. So thank you. I think you misheard us when we said that many think it's impossible. We're addressing that because directly the GGGI directly addresses these concerns with very analytical, very data-centric approaches to show that it is feasible to achieve economic growth simultaneously with green growth. We do think it's possible, and we do think it is very analytical, data-driven organizations like the GGGI that pioneers this approach.
Exactly, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, between Jiyeon and Grace, we're running out of time. Who wants to ask questions? Do you have like pressuring questions? Jiyeon? Because Jiyeon, I missed you last time. Okay.
All right, thank you. And yeah, so thank you, Reply, for your great presentation. I think it was like really truly inspiring to see how GGGI partners with numerous organizations and design like many eco-friendly initiatives around the world. Yet there are some cases where a country, especially an authoritarian country, rejects or denies any kind of humanitarian aid or intervention from the NGOs, as receiving such aid could be considered as a detrimental part to their national security issues. So especially due to COVID-19, borders and economic activities have been closed. And in these cases, what do you think are the roles that the UN or perhaps other organizations have in helping the people's urgent needs?
So I think it's actually in times of like authoritarian dictators or conflicts that we uniquely have the opportunity to come in and shift and change society. So for example, in the case of Colombia, they were in a civil war until 2016 and their government was in chaos. We just did not know who was running the government. It was just factions and divisions. But despite this chaos, GGGI came in and helped support, create platforms and systems to develop climate change policies. And this is uniquely beneficial because remember the German speaker Hans something said that birds don't have borders. Similarly, climate change also will affect everyone, regardless of whether or not you're a cruel, authoritarian dictator. So I think this gives us a unique leeway for like things like the GGGI to come in and talk to them despite internal chaos, because it is a problem that affects every single one of us.